Isn't it crazy? Oh. Hi, welcome to the channel. Welcome to Cosmic Commune with Wise Sage and Prometheus and Charlie Kirk. Oh god. Anyways, um, today we're gonna go through deeper understandings of the Enneagram and what we can learn together about the Enneagram. This symbol represents the Enneagram. In the center, we see an eye with a crown representing God or the unifying force within all things, and how we are all representatives of a different aspect and shard of one whole. Take a moment to read it. The truth, you are whole, you are enough, you are ready. The illusion, you are separate, you lack something, you must become. And we will get to the deeper understandings. The first thing we want to talk about in this video is that most people look at the heart center as the center that deals with sadness or the image people present or the deeper underlying sadness they have in their hearts. But in Sufi mysticism, which pioneered the Enneagram, it is taught as emotional levels of cowardice to bravery, the emotional intelligence. And the most cowardly of the emotional centers is the 2. It abandons its own needs to meet everyone else's. It craves love and validation and acceptance without the risk of being truly seen. It wants to be loved without the vulnerability of being real. It gives so much because it's completely disconnected from itself. It's not love, it's escape. And then there's an image of them trying to give love to others at their own expense. Love me, need me, praise me, but don't see me. Cowardice is high. It avoids the risk of being unwanted by abandoning itself. And then the middle ground of emotional cowardice to bravery is the 3. It wants to be the performer, the middle ground. It wants to be everything to everyone, but not at the cost of being broken. It manages how it's seen. It plays the role. It stays in control. It balances giving and holding back. It's not fully authentic, but it's not fully absent either. It fears emotional exposure and emotional vulnerability equally. And there's the image of them wearing 2 different masks for whatever works to their advantage of success. And the 3, it doesn't want to be so emotionally cowardice like the 2, where it's taken advantage of for its giving nature, and people walk all over it. And it doesn't want to be so emotionally brave like the 4, where it reveals potentially shameful, self-sabotaging details about itself. So it tries to be in the middle and just use them situationally, whether it's giving kindness of niceness of the 2 heart energy, or whether it's individual emotional energy. It uses it to succeed, have a better image, approval, respect, and value. Cowardice, moderate. It fears being too much and not enough. It hides behind a version of itself. And then the most emotionally brave of the centers and the most emotionally intelligent of the centers would be the 4, the individualist, emotional bravery. It drives into depths of its own pain. It feels everything most people run from. It exposes its shame, its darkness, its truth. It doesn't need to be perfect to be loved. It would rather be real than safe. It risks rejection. It chooses authenticity. Bravery is high. It risks being misunderstood, rejected, or alone to be real. I definitely find this as true. I am a 4, and I see the 2 as people pleasers and too willing to be fake in order to give to other people and to be liked and praised by other people. I see the threes as fake too, but walking that tightrope, trying to be the ideal, the best of the best, and that seems fake as well. So it tries to be authentic to itself when it works to its advantage, when people will respect it for that. But otherwise, it's just playing the same game as it does when it's being kind, which is whatever works for me. And then the four does emotional things even when it doesn't work for them, even when it's not to their advantage. It's just straight shooter and it does not care as long as it's being true to itself. So that would be the most emotionally brave and emotionally authentic of the centers. I could open it up if anyone here wants to express an opinion on what they think about this. Anyone? Question?
Ask me a question.
Us. Um, do you feel as having a four heart in your tri-type that you are often more authentic and at the cost of your own like social image?
Yeah, of course. I value being authentic the most, and for me, it's like the most important thing in the world. I would never be a people pleaser or try to be someone else to be accepted socially.
Yes. And um, would you say you're emotionally brave in that manner?
Well, yeah, I even in real world, I express myself and my interests without much of concern what others think. So that I think that makes me brave because I'm not afraid to be myself when others try to pretend.
Yes. So yeah. So that's the deeper secret to the heart types. Mostly they'll tell you it's about sadness, like they're all controlled by sadness, which is true, and they all are deeply wanting to be someone that they're not because they were never noticed. They have a deep sadness that they were never appreciated for who they really are. So they have to feel like they have to be someone greater than themselves in order to receive the love that they never received. And that's their deep sadness, is what you're constantly, mostly taught when you're learning the Enneagram. But and some people say it's like image. It's the image you present to people, whether you're loving and kind, whether you want to be the best or best, whether you want to be like a individual thing. All of those apply, but the deeper understanding you need to understand these types is their emotional levels of cowardice to bravery. The two being the most scared, the three in the middle somewhere there. It's kind of scared, but sometimes wants to be brave if it's used to their advantage. And then the four is the most brave at all times. It is the truth bomb type of personality. And that's that. Prometheus, you want to say anything about being a four?
No, man.
Okay. And now we get to the head types, levels of insecurity to self esteem. Um, so usually you're taught that the head types have to do with fear and their core fears that drive them, which is true. But in the end of the day, the deeper understanding to see them as is levels of insecurity to self-esteem. Who has a high self-esteem has a low self-esteem that makes them insecure. The five would be, even though it's the intelligence center, it would actually be the most insecure. While the four is the intelligence center in the heart types, it's the most brave. In this one, the most intelligent center, the five, is actually the most insecure. And the investigator, the most insecure, low self esteem. They are withdrawn, isolated, convinced resources are limited, believes it only has a certain amount of energy, expects depletion, retreats before it's even needed, builds expertise in a niche so people will need it more than it needs others, observes life, interprets it, participates only in thought, afraid of need, afraid of dependency, afraid of being empty. Insecurity is high, sees the world as a threat to its limited resources, believes it must conserve to survive. Now with fives, they usually fear not having all the knowledge, resources, or information, just general incompetency. And again, this is the type that it wants to build a niche expertise in a certain field. So people need it more than it needs others. And it feels it only has a certain level of energy that it can expend throughout the day before it's depleted. But people need it more than it needs people. But they rather observe life rather than participate in life, which comes from that deep core level of insecurity that they have in themselves. Yeah, so that would be the five, and now the six, the loyalist, the committed, security-oriented type. Sorry, the six, the middle ground, insecure but seeking, wants security and certainty, fearful of rejection and betrayal, tries hard to fit in, looks for rules, alliances, and systems to feel safe, may be phobic, doubting everything, or counterphobic, projecting strength, projects loyalty, competence, beauty, or strength to be accepted, lives in constant vigilance, always asking, "Am I safe?" Security, moderate, sees the world as unpredictable, tries to adapt to survive, earns worth through loyalty, performance, and vigilance. So this would be the middle ground of insecurity to self-esteem. It's not so insecure like the five, where it doesn't participate in life. It doesn't just go isolate away. It very much tries to be in life and participate in life, but while it's doing so, it has this deep core fear that it's never enough, or it will be rejected, or it won't be accepted, losing its social bonds or security or things like that. And it's not socially confident, where it has more of the ease and natural abilities to be more lackadaisical, so to say, as the seven will be. It really tries hard. It has a deep fear. The women project beauty, or the men project strength. Usually the men are counterphobic and the women are phobic. So yeah, insecurity, moderate, sees the world as unpredictable, tries to adapt to survive, earns worth through loyalty, performance, and vigilance. I may have read that already, but that would be the middle ground of self-esteem to confidence. And then moving on, the next one, the seven, the enthusiast, the most self-confident and high self-esteem, naturally confident, always on the go, doesn't try hard, doesn't need to, attracts people effortlessly, chases experiences, not approval, barely takes care of itself, yet life keeps giving, believes the world is full of options and possibilities, lives in abundance of spirit, not trying, not proving, just being. Self-esteem high, sees the world as full of opportunity, expects joy, connection, and expansion, at ease in existence. This is the one with high self-esteem, high self-confidence. Um, they're rarely shying away from new experiences or anything like that, as the five would. While the five is very insecure and just wants to stay at home and build knowledge in a niche field, they're actually out go-getters who want to experience the most to life. And so when we're talking about this, it also has to do with like mental confidence. How mentally secure are you? How mentally confident are you? And mentally confident, this is like an abundance of mental confidence. This is the middle ground, where it's not so confident, but it's confident enough to try. And this one doesn't try at all. It just completely rejects and life, or participating in life, and just goes off into its own little world. And they often feel like aliens in the world and not like really participants in it. But this one is going to really try hard with the six's mental experience, but the sevens don't even need to try, and they naturally just make friends. They naturally are having people gravitate towards them because of their infectious high energies and self-esteem. So that would be the levels of mental landscapes of 5, 6, and 7. Well, they say it's mostly controlled by fear, and they all are controlled by fear, and we'll get to that after. But mostly, you have to look out for like understand where their self-esteem is coming from and why they act the way they do. It's because in the core root is the insecurity makes them really intelligent, not feel like they have enough. The middle ground of insecurity makes them uncertain, never knowing if it's enough. And the high confidence is always more than enough for any situation for the sevens. Let me open it up. Charlie Kirk, do you um, relate to feeling insecure because you are core 5?
I don't know. It depends on in which area do I feel insecure. Like, name an example of real world situation.
Like going to a party and talking to people.
Yeah, of course I'm scared of that. But like, if it's like an interesting hobby where I have to go, for example, to some hobby place or to explore some nature, then I'm not against that. But if it involves going meeting people, since I don't really have the skills of talking to people real well, then obviously I'm gonna be insecure and scared of that, or like not wanting to do that, because first of all, I don't see sense in doing that, and second of all, I don't know how I'm gonna do it and how it's gonna go. So yeah.
Hmm. Prometheus, why don't you add, because you're core 7, do you feel like you have a high self-esteem?
Um, no, we actually don't have an actual high self-esteem. That's just like mostly a persona with the sevens, and we actually have a really vulnerable core. And yeah, we're mostly just confused.
Okay, so most sevens say they would say they get insecure too, but out of all the types, the 7 is not will not be as insecure as the 6 or the 5s are insecure. Yes, everyone feels insecure sometimes, but I think when you say more core vulnerable thing, that would come from your 4. You have 4 in your tri-type. Prometheus is a 7, 4, 9. So that would come from there. But if you didn't have the 4 in you, and you said you had a 2 or something like that, then you, that vulnerability wouldn't as much be there, and it would just be like a very high, upbeat, caring, soft kind of thing. Or especially if you had a 3, if it was a 3 with a 7, that vulnerability wouldn't really be there. And then moving on, boom. And the last but not least, the gut types, action and body types, levels of intelligence through action. It's not anger, it's intelligence expressing through the body. So most people say it's controlled by anger. Yes, anger has a lot to do with it, but it's more so the deeper understanding is intelligence itself. These are the true intelligence centers, more than what your heart feels and your emotions feel, more than how your thoughts think and your brain thinks. Your actions speak the loudest and really represent you, is what you do and how you take action. So this is what really shows, like, are you intelligent or are you not so intelligent? And the least intelligent of the gut types is the challenger. It reacts, it dominates, it destroys, charges forward without thinking, leads with brute strength, force, and dominance, wants control at any cost, sees the world as something to conquer or defend against, mistakes intensity for intelligence, operates from impulse, pride, and egoic will, confuses power with wisdom, confuses force with leadership. Intelligence is low, acts first, rarely thinks rarely, lives in the moment of impact, learns through pain and consequences. So that would be the least intelligence of them. this is like the Republican energy of like conquer, destroy, the strong man, will energy. It is not an intelligent way for humans to conduct themselves. It's needed as a protective force, but as a ruling force, because all these three types, the body types, are all leaders. And as a ruling force, it is the force of dictators, it's the force of brutes, the force of tyrants. That's the energy of the eight, and that doesn't really lead to great things. The second part, hold on. Okay, so the second part, the nine, the peacemaker, the middle ground, observes, adapts, goes with the flow. This is the middle ground of intelligence. It's not as smart as the one would be, obviously, but it's not as dumb as the challengers are. It's the middle ground of intelligence. It's the basic line of intelligence. Goes along to get along, but sees everything, not attached to the outcome, understands what others need to keep the peace, avoids conflict, but holds the map uh, of the whole, forgets to ask, what do I need? Mistakes disconnection for harmony. Sorry, mistakes disconnection for harmony. Intelligence, moderate, sees the big picture, understands people and patterns, sacrifices self-knowledge for peace, has wisdom, but not self-direction. So this is the middle ground of intelligence. Usually they go to get along. They go along to get along, and they do not lead. And they will be better if they know who they are themselves, and if they're able to use their knowledge of always merging with everyone else to do what's best for everyone at the table. They actually make the best leaders, but usually they're sheep and they just like to follow and they don't really like to lead. So those are the middle ground, stuck between the two bigger personalities, which is the eights are the right wing Republican energy, and the ones are the Democratic, morally correct and righteous energies of the Democrats, and then the nines would be all the voters in between who really should step up and try to bring peace to others, but they don't. That's the nines. And then the ones, the reformer, the most intelligent, analyzes, improves, perfects, seeks truth and justice and moral excellence, thinks before acting, plans with purpose, holds a standard and stride to meet it, seeks what is wrong, but works to make it right. Intelligence directed by by conscience and principle. It can become rigid, but rarely reckless. Seeks perfection to serve something greater than itself. Intelligence is high, thinks deeply, acts deliberately, aligns with principle and purpose, sacrifices comfort for what is right. So again, the one is the most intelligence. It has a very high standard of perfection, and usually we live in an imperfect universe, and it's hard to actually get there. But sometimes, miraculously, they get pretty damn close. Your Leonardo da Vinci's, your Karl Marx's, they're all more one energy. They're all more of the rigid perfectionist who is trying hard to meet an impossible standard, and sometimes they get pretty goddamn close and are visionary and bringing things that no one could ever think of to mankind. So those are the ones, and those are the nines. So the nines aren't as smart as the one and diligent and moralistic crusaders, but they're not as belligerent and power hungry like the eights. They sit in the middle. Um, but those are the levels of intelligence. And usually they said it's controlled by anger. The eights take their anger out on others, which is not an intelligent way to live life. The nines avoid anger entirely. And then the ones take their anger out on themselves, and they very self-critical and very taking their anger out on themselves for not being good enough, for not being correct enough. And that really improves them in a lot of ways. So that is the most intelligent way to live life. If you're going to direct anger anywhere, you shouldn't avoid it and be passive aggressive. You shouldn't take it out on others and be confrontational. You should definitely direct it inward and start with yourself. Boom, and back to the whole of it. So this is the different types of Enneagrams, and so the heart centers have to deal with cowardice to bravery. The head centers have to deal with how did I just forget? The head centers have to deal with insecurity to stability, self-esteem, insecurity to self-esteem, and then the gut centers have to deal with intelligence to not so intelligent. So those are the deeper understandings to the Enneagram. In the next episode, we'll go through the deeper understandings of the Enneagram through which types are the introverted types and how they're all the core centers of the 3, the 6, and the 9. And each other ones are just the 8 is the extroverted 9 and the 1 is the introverted 9. And that's all there really is. We'll get more onto that. But if you liked what you learned today, please like and subscribe. Follow us on our Discord channel. Come join the Discord channel. We're always live at Cosmic Commune and always ready to talk about deeper understandings of whether it's Marxism, scientific pantheism, or typology systems, and trying to unify the whole and heal the world. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Dun, dun, dun.